So with our lovely Miss M, ready? Maple. Nice, good job. So I wanted to warm up a little bit with some loose leash walking. I know I've mentioned you can rock this even off of gear. So I do like to practice both ways. So right now, all I'm doing is anytime Miss M is near the side of my leg, be it left or right, I'm going to feed for those moments. So if one of the family members at home prefers the left side versus the right side, again, I don't really care. I think it can be really nice for the babes to learn both sides of your body. Remember, loose leash walking is not the same thing as working heels. So like a heel cue or exercise would be very distinct footwork with the dog in a left side position, with a lot of engagement on the handler and a lot of focus driven towards the pair working together. Loose leash walking is more so what I would consider there's softness on the gear, there's no tension on the equipment, so the leash is relaxed. And the puppy could be softly orbiting the handler as they're meandering through the environment. You can, of course, capture moments where your puppy could be next to you for a few lovely moments and then feed for those moments by the leg. So in the beginning, one of my favorite ways to create orientation to the handler is she really likes chasing the food. So what I find is beneficial is as the puppy goes and chases the food and they reorient to you, feed them for coming into your space. But then again, if they're doing a great job, we send them away so they can go romp and get some energy out. And then you could do that little positive interrupter, which Miss Lovely has gotten very good at, and then continue on your loose leash walking. So this could be with me, this could be let's go, this could be walk. There's so many different slogans. If you prefer the word heel, you can use it. Even if you never do any competitive practice down the road, no biggie. So right there, yes. So I'm rotating through some find its, working the positive interrupter. We were just doing a little bit with her lovely high value chew item and practicing ways to prevent and manage, but also help with some resource guarding. So right now, this is really pretty with her little find its and then bouncing back to me. Yes, nice job. Oh my goodness, chewing and running is so hard. Good job, Miss M. So let's say she's been doing a real nice job. We're going to try a little bit with some more a sort of orientation to the side of my body. So what I like to do is sometimes get the puppy to hone in on your hand and then put the hand more towards your hip or leg and then lower to feed the puppy while they're by your leg. If you're trying to create a lot of great value by the side, I sometimes will feed multiple little snacks. So a jackpot moment is where your puppy gets more than one goodie, one after the other. So that way you're creating, again, a lot of value in that behavior or skill set. So right here, we're kind of meandering. I use my food as right now is this visual to help hone her in on the side of my body. If she's a little bit of a jumping jelly bean at times, so she does a little bit of jumping, make sure that when you're feeding, it's all four on the floor. Nice. If she's ever taking your snacks hard, which could be, again, does happen for a lot of pups, the reason behind the harder mouth could be really excited, so the over arousal could be there. Ready, cuteness? It could also be that when she's excited about the food, her mouth also becomes a little bit more like its own creature. So I would highly recommend to keep a gauge as to how she's doing. The mouth can also be a little bit of a barometer to how comfortable she is. So if a puppy's getting more overwhelmed or anxious, then the mouth can also get harder there. For right now, I would say that it's mostly because she's really excited and she really is enjoying the snacks today, minus the chewing. So we may find for our lovely Miss M that if she is rather hard with her mouth, feed flat palm or make sure you're feeding the ground. So you could also work it like this where she's doing a great job being by your side, and you could do the breadcrumb trail. So where you plop it on the floor and then she eats it right from the ground. So the benefit of the breadcrumb trail for some of these puppies or even adult dogs is that you could start them off by, as opposed to targeting your hand, you get them to go ahead and take the food from the floor. So you can almost do this breadcrumb trail, and the puppies are still soft and nearby, but now as opposed to jumping upwards to try to reach for the food, they are now going on the floor to grab their paycheck. So this way, it can be helpful for your babe to keep it more on the ground than hopping up to meet you halfway by coming upwards. Nice. Good job, cuteness. So this is a great game to sometimes practice in environments where she's going to be successful. but maybe she's a little bit more excitable or a little overwhelmed, then doing the breadcrumb trail for some of the pups helps them by avoiding scanning the horizon and getting stuck on novelty or things they might find too exciting or a little overwhelming. So remember that sometimes the benefit of these find its in general, but also doing the scatter feeding on the floor as you're meandering, is that if your puppy is busy scavenging for snacks, they can't be also scanning to see what the next thing could be to get a little jazzed about. So right here, we'll go right into a little find it, one of her favorites. Nice, and feed for that lovely reorientation to me. And again, ready, find it. You can see she's really having a great time chasing the food. Nice, ready, find it. And then from there, yes, what a good girl. Nice. So her little leaping across the room is so stinking cute. So again, we're gonna send her away. Ready? Find it. And then again, yes. So not the end of the world if you forget to mark something. So every once in a while, like I'm blabbing and I don't get to say everything that I was hoping. So marking behavior again is YES, like I normally use the yes, to mark the moment. And she just did a shake off. She's like, what the heck? So she's like, what is my neighbor doing? Oh, but nice check back in. So that was beautiful. She was about to go check out what Miss P was doing and then decided halfway, she's like, you know what? I'll go check back in with the crazy snack lady. Good job. So, but if your babe is at times, again, having moments where, and I completely forgot what I was talking about. Oh yeah. So like that little positive interrupter, you know, let's say you don't get to always mark a skill with the yes as she comes into your space, then that could be a moment where even if she's getting her paycheck, it's still building value in that deposit to that bank account. So remember how every skill set, nice, has a bank account. So let's say, for example, sitting has a really good amount of change deposited into it. You're going to get sitting much more readily in many different places and maybe with different sets of distractions or difficulties. If though it hasn't been as well generalized or it hasn't been enough of a compensation for this hard effort, then sitting may not happen elsewhere either. So always view the skills and the things that she's working on, she's got to grab a little drink, as having a way to deposit into that thing. So because remember, whatever gets reinforced gets repeated. So even the bad stuff. So what I mean by that is if she gets a lot of attention for playing keep away, then keep away might be a really great game, even though we get upset at the very end. It could be also moments where, let's say, not coming when called could have a lot of great reinforcement for her. She gets to play longer outside. She's maybe chasing the bunny. She may be chasing some other critters or digging or whatever it might be. And these are all very doggy-centric skills. Ready? Maple. Nice. But if, let's say, your pup is getting good at finding that to be more appealing, I'm not saying they shouldn't be able to do dog things, but if we're on the back burner trying to bring them away from the fun, remember how I mentioned a little bit with recall practice with Miss P in one of the other videos? If we become the end of the game and asking them to come to our space means we leash you up or we're going away, then the next time you call them to you and try to leash them, they might run the exact opposite direction. So we don't want to use recalls to be the end of something, but we also want to make sure that we're rehearsing all of these awesome skills before we need them. So if we're trying to practice them in the moment or we're trying to practice them when we actually needed it, that probably won't have enough of a foundation where your puppy knows what to do when that distraction or trigger or thing is nearby. So right now, Miss Emma's doing splendid. So right here, when we get a little sit again, nice, yes, good job. But for homework's sake, for both the ladies, I'd recommend just keep your training session short and sweet for greater success. Make sure that the puppies are looking like they're having a good time. If they're shutting down because the environment had become way too stimulating or way too overwhelming, then take a break. So there's no harm in just stopping where you are and then rebooting another time later. Because just like with us, if we're having a bad moment or just not feeling it and then someone forces us to do it anyway, it could be another situation where that creates the association with the environment, with us, with the thing as being now the part that was overwhelming or scary. So I would highly recommend just gauge it day by day. And you're not, again, looking for perfection. You're looking for progress. So even for like Miss P earlier, I wasn't looking for like a perfect stay with a long duration and tons of distance. I just wanted her to start thinking that going to our target mat had value, while there was some weird oddities in the sense of the noises in the building and just in general the difficulty of the new space. So with our little ladies, time for grooming. Make sure that again, when you're working at home, you're able to, she hears Miss P grabbing her snacks out of the slow feed bowl, but it's kind of echoes in the building. So she's thinking it's coming from over here, but it's actually Miss P eating her slow feed bowls. Ready? Find it. But again, if questions or concerns arise for either of the gorgeous gals, feel free to check in. I know Miss M is coming for Thursday, and then that'll be her last day. And then Miss P is coming for the structured play on Wednesday the following week. So we may find too, I think she was going to be getting spayed soon. So if she's taking a little recess from practice here, no big deal, but make sure to keep practicing in the household and make sure that when she is set up, it's to rehearse the things you want her to get good at. So in the beginning, if she doesn't have the skill set, think prevention or management through the environment or your bubble in which you can be helping her be successful. So right here, I'm just going to ignore. If let's say she spent too much time climbing, I might ask instead, ready, sit. But she might be also a little bit unsure about a funny noise. Remember, they're so much more receptive than we are to the environment because we can't hear or smell or again, see the same way they do. So again, maybe she needs a little potty break, which could also be part of it. So we'll give our lovely Miss M a little break and we'll call it a day for the ladies.